Reminder, this is being recorded on Zoom and Facebook Live. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, we did drop the link on the Facebook page. You can register and join us in Zoom as well, so we can make sure we can answer questions. When you do sign up on the 1 Million Cups app, that allows us just to send you a note every week letting you know who's presenting so that you can engage. In addition, join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Make sure you follow us. We'll send out insights and thoughts as well. And please spread the news. So if you are on Facebook, share the live link, and let's get some reach for our presenter today. We do have amazing sponsors to make sure that all of this happens. So Office Evolution is one of our sponsors. They typically sponsor our space, but since we're virtual, we'll call them our Zoom sponsor. John Yu from Office Evolution provides great space for people to do virtual membership or even in person. They do have private offices as well, and they are open now. So do reach out to them to learn more about what resources they have and how they can help. And then Bill from Airport Jewel, if you would talk to us about Airport Jewel. Thanks for being our sponsor.
Good morning, Jen. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be a virtual sponsor, and I'll just have a sip of my own coffee so you can live vicariously through me. And I'd like to be a real coffee sponsor as soon as we're back together again. Again, my name is Bill Hoisington. I'm with Airport Jewel. I do websites, web applications, and digital marketing. And again, it's a pleasure to be a sponsor. Thank you very much. And I'll send it back to Jen.
Thank you so much. We have been known to draw a name out of the proverbial virtual hat from the 1MC app and send a bag of coffee. So if that's something you're interested in, we can definitely do that. Just a quick question or quick comment as you're using Zoom and logging in. Please drop your name and info in chat. We can save our chat, make sure we get all of our contact information, tell us more about who you are. And then once we get through the presentation, we'll have open Q&A. So our presentation will be about 6 to 8 minutes. Then when we go into Q&A, you can drop your questions in chat, or if you open up the participants window, you can also raise your hand digitally, which makes it a little bit easier. Otherwise, if you can keep yourself on mute, that would be fabulous. So I am a huge fan of speaking. For people who know me, they know that. And so Toastmasters is a great organization. I'm a huge fan. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our presenter and also someone who shows up all the time, which we appreciate, Ken Portnoy.
Thank you, Jen. I have participated for quite a while in the audience at 1 Million Cups. Good morning, 1 Million Cups. And during that time, I've seen many extraordinary, committed, intelligent, ambitious, creative, innovative speakers talk about their dreams for their businesses. And I am thankful that you weren't able to find anyone like that for today, because it gives me a chance to talk with you about Toastmasters and to get your help with my Toastmasters Club. Go ahead to the next slide. So what we're going to do today is I want to talk about Tyson's Regional Toastmasters. I'm going to talk about Toastmasters in general as well. I'll talk about what do we do, who are we, and how do we do what we do. So I'll answer those questions for you, and then I'll turn it around and I have a question for you to answer for me. So next slide. This is what we do. You've heard me say it before. Toastmasters is the most cost-effective leadership development and public speaking training program in the known universe. I have a friend who's active in the Tysons community. He's an entrepreneur. He has a software business. He's a dynamic leader in his business and a dynamic leader in the community. And he was a Toastmasters member a number of years ago and credits Toastmasters with really helping him to improve his presence and his leadership. He likes it so much, he's trying to engage his son to participate in Toastmasters. That's visionary, trying to get your son to do something you think would be good for them. Next slide, please. Who are we? Toastmasters International is gigantic. We have 360,000 plus members in 17,000 clubs across 140 countries. It's organized as a not-for-profit. The cost of membership to be a member of Toastmasters can run about $100, $120 a year. If you multiply that out, it comes out to be a $30+ million business. They're headquartered in Colorado. New headquarters just moved from California, where they were founded in 1924, almost 100 years. And they've applied the flywheel principle. It's an easily duplicatable model that has been duplicated from one club in San Francisco in 1924 to the 17,000 clubs that you see the number up there on the screen. So all of the people who participate in Toastmasters, except for the headquarters, are all volunteers. It's all volunteer organization. Tyson's Regional Toastmasters is just one of those 17,000 clubs here in the Tyson's region. Next slide, please. So Tyson's Regional Toastmasters was founded about 8 years ago. For the last 5 years, we have been flying just above the treetops. And recently, we've begun to hear the tops of the trees slapping at the bottom of the plane. It has been a real struggle. We've lost the ability to meet together in a conference room and provide that really human interaction that is part of the Toastmasters brand. We've moved online, but we've lost a lot of momentum. A full-scale club is about 20 members, and we've struggled for the last 5 years at about half that strength. Next slide. This is my competitive environment. Around the Beltway, inside the Beltway, and outside the Beltway are hundreds of other Toastmasters clubs. They meet morning, noon, and night every day of the week somewhere. And many of those clubs are sponsored by large organizations. They're sponsored and supported and housed by corporations that provide a basic community to draw members from. A lot of these organizations are also community clubs that don't have a farm to grow new members from like a corporation would. Next slide. So we're kind of like a Starbucks. There's one of us on every corner. Next slide. In the Tysons area, this is a listing of 10 of our corporate clubs. And you can see that these organizations recognize the significance and value and importance of Toastmasters for developing the people in their organizations as an option for their development as speakers and leaders within the corporation so that they can contribute more to those companies. Capital One is all in. They offer sometimes once a year, sometimes more than once a year, their cafeteria support staff, the food from their cafeteria, and their entire conference facility. So that's what's going on in the Tysons corporate area with Toastmasters. Next slide, please. Tysons Regional Toastmasters, what we envision is we envision a club that will serve smaller organizations, not-for-profit and for-profit organizations who don't have the scale to support their own in-house Toastmasters club. And we're kind of unique. We are an open community club. In the Northern Virginia area, we are the only club that meets weekday mornings early. And so 1 Million Cups is successful at 9 a.m. across the country in 160 chapters. We figure we can be successful in that time slot as well. We meet the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month at 8 a.m. Like I said, we've moved online recently. I'm not sure that that's the perfect time slot for us. It is unusual because we're the only one. And if we're struggling, maybe there's a lesson in that. Next slide, please. So how do we do it? The first thing that we do is we've got a mission. We keep the mission in front of us. We understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide a supportive and positive learning experience for our membership so that they can develop communications and leadership skills and grow themselves and their self-confidence in the process. Next slide, please. We have a methodology. I showed you the picture of Starbucks. We're kind of like McDonald's. We've got a huge foundation of materials and structure and processes that we draw on in order to prepare and present the program that we developed for Tyson's Regional Toastmasters. So we have structured club meetings. Each club meeting provides an opportunity for prepared speeches, for exercises in extemporaneous speaking, and most importantly, include formal evaluations so that people can hear about what they're doing right, can understand their growth in the direction that they're growing, and can understand where they can grow in the future in order to continue to improve. So evaluations are a critical piece of our program. Also, in really strong clubs, there are mentors, and mentors take new members under their wing, guide them along their Toastmaster journey on a longer basis. So next slide, please. The Toastmasters educational program, we don't just make up the assignments for what people are supposed to do. Toastmasters rolled out a marvelous cloud-based multimedia educational program to replace their paper booklet. So they've rolled this out over the last 3 years or so. And there are individual, in this case, you can see there are 10 different, if you can see that, I realize it's a little small. There are 10 different individualized paths. That's been grown to maybe a dozen or more. And each path has a different set of exercises and projects that have a specific focus. Some are more speaking focused. Some are focused directly on things like management and project management and strategic and visionary communications. And they all touch upon each of these different values: public speaking, interpersonal communications, management, personal self-confidence, in different proportions depending on how they apply to this specific path. And so a path can take you a couple of years. And so next slide. How do we do it? On the leadership side, like I said, there's 360,000 members and 17,000 clubs. Of course, there's a hierarchical structure to this. If you want to exercise your leadership skills, you can grow from the club level all the way up to the international president. I met the international president, the outgoing international president. I met him a couple of years ago, was talking and having coffee with him. He started out as a member of a club in Mumbai. And as soon as he joined that club, they made him president. And he worked his way up to make that a strong club and built a presence for Toastmasters in India and moved up through area, division, district, region, all the way up to the international level, developing his skills as a leader all along the way. So as a club member, you can be an officer. The club operates as a nonprofit. There's a budget, there's a charter, there's an executive committee. Parliamentary procedure, managing the budget, all of those sorts of things. We do this so people can become better leaders in their community and in their business. And if somebody pursues Toastmasters where they can't do a lot of damage and learns these sorts of skills, we can turn them loose in the community where they can really have an impact in the organizations that have meaning for them. So that's how we do it. Next slide. My challenge question: how can we engage the leadership of smaller businesses and nonprofits in the Tysons neighborhood to support participation in our program by their employees? You can see the value. You can see how we can supplement the developmental programs for employees that companies and nonprofits would have for themselves. So let me turn it over to you for your questions about what we do, how we do it, and who we are, and your suggestions for how we can strengthen this little itty bitty club in Tyson's Corner. Anybody in there?
Hey, Ken, I was waiting for someone to introduce me, but that's okay. I'll be the one to do the Q&A. And if anyone has questions, I already see them coming up. Super. Thank you. That was a great presentation. Very well done. And you must be part of the Toastmasters. Okay. Talma has a question.
Hey, Ken, good morning. Great presentation. Thanks so much for sharing all that information. And I personally have been a huge fan of Toastmasters for many, many years. So I love what you're doing. To your question, I think the easiest way to engage small business is the idea that this is a continued education opportunity that they can offer their team without it being a high level cost, right? So many small businesses are trying to find ways to read into their employees. They really do want benefits for them. They really do want to be able to do things for them. It's just not cost effective while they're slowly scaling and growing, you know, the intention is there. So I 100% think the approach from benefits, this is a way for you to allow somebody to personally improve in their professional capacity, and it's, you know, it's not, you know, paying for their MBA or anything, but it's a way to let them get in there and experience without, you know, having a boss lording over them. I think that could be there could be a benefits ad sell there. That's where I see it being helpful to get in with small business.
Thank you. So in small businesses, for those of you who may have more familiarity, should we be looking at business owners? Should we be looking at HR staff? Should we be looking at
small business? You're probably going to want to go in through the business owner. They don't have HR staff, you know, even until 50, they almost never have an HR person. At 50 employees, they're starting to hire an HR person, maybe, but even then they can outsource it for a really long time. So I think your way in is the business owner that really cares about the culture of their people and helping their people, but doesn't have a huge budget and wants to find a way to help them improve themselves professionally and personally. I think that's the way in. I would go business owners.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Ken. Next, we have James Lawson, then Melinda, and then Tony Bonnet. So, James.
Thanks. Hi, Ken. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Let me fasten my seatbelt, James.
Actually, question about the Toastmasters name first and foremost. Does any organization that use the word Toastmasters, are they all part of International? Or is Toastmasters one of those ubiquitous type terms that people use?
Toastmasters is the brand and its usage is under license.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I'm on Google right now, and you're right, there's hundreds. I can't find anything about Tysons anywhere on Google. But I just wondered if these Toastmasters organizations were all part of International.
Absolutely.
So the small business thing, I agree with Talmar in terms of kind of taking that route, but I think there's an added part to this. Businesses want to know what they do, how does that help grow their business? And right, that's the first thing. And two, if it's about employees, how does it help them retain their best employees? Right. So for them, to me, in terms of what you guys are offering, Ken, I think it's a two-pronged approach. And honestly, I mean, I know Toastmasters. I'm not sure many people really understand what Toastmasters is. Most people think it's about how to learn public speaking, which it is, but that's only part of it. And my recommendation would be to really think more about the other side, the development side, and do a little bit more of an education. Even on the website, it's hard, right? It's really tough for people to come there and go, what does this really do for me?
Yeah.
So I would be definitely looking to do a little bit more education outbound in terms of how does that help my business in terms of growth? How does it help my business in terms of development of my best people? And kind of work it from that angle. I just think people have a perception of Toastmasters that maybe in the old days that was true, but it isn't now, if that makes any sense.
You're absolutely right, James. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but they've added the tagline in the lockup. The new tagline is "Where leaders are made,"
Yeah.
in an attempt to publicize that shift in emphasis or shift in emphasis of the marketing. I agree with you. Let me test something on you, James, if I may.
Sure.
I have this fantasy. If you were to put
You can just stop right there because I don't know, we don't want to go down this path.
if you were to put a smokestack on the top of the head of every coder in Tyson's Corner, the place would look like Gary, Indiana in the 60s. It would be completely smogged in. And there are high potential people who are heads down kind of computer people who could contribute much better to the corporations and companies that they work for if they had greater communications and leadership skills. So that's my fantasy. That's part of my, I don't have the pitch to go along with that, but that's part of my thinking on the subject.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think you have a perception problem. I think that's one. And I think what you've got is a what's in it for me or my staff problem, maybe. But you're right. I think if it were me, I would do, and sorry, I would, if I've got a list of potential business owners, which you can get from anywhere, I would be doing some kind of, first of all, a quick survey. Like, what do you think Toastmasters really is? And what do you think it would do for your business if you were part of it? Just answer me 2 questions. And from those answers, start to develop a game plan around changing that perception.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. I want to next move on to Melinda and Tony. Melinda?
Good morning. That was an excellent presentation. Really liked it. Love the organization, Toastmasters. My question's around partnerships, because partnerships are a really low-hanging fruit way to find companies that have the right organizations. And even with partnerships with local chambers like the Central Fairfax, because they're for small business in Fairfax County, places like one of our sponsors, organizations that host people to work out of their offices, and that's where they work. And actually going to your members and finding out who they're connected with small business, and putting a list together, putting maybe an A/B list so that you can start going after these groups one by one. And you could probably become the program for the group of how much Toastmasters can do to help you, help your organization, and help you guys grow, type of a PowerPoint presentation that you can do to a lot of these organizations to show them who you are.
I like that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
partnerships are really a good way to go.
We've been trying to put together a relationship that works and actually rebranded in order to align our branding with the Tysons Regional Chamber. So that's a program that's currently ongoing. We have the support of several people at the Tysons Regional Chamber, and as a place where small businesses gather. And so expanding, because I think we have some contacts here in 1 Million Cups in the Central Fairfax Chamber. So I may pursue that as you suggest.
I can make introductions if you need them.
Well, it's Russ.
Yeah, it's Russ, but I also know Jennifer really well.
Huh?
Runs it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Tony, and then after Tony, we have Deb Cohen, and then after Deb, we have Jen Dalton. Thanks.
Okay, Ken, it was a great presentation. Totally expected it to be that way. I'm going to focus on 2 parts of this, my suggestion and comment to you. Toastmasters went, from my perception, much like James, I'm not going to date myself, but back in the 80s, Toastmasters was where you went if you were a young new salesperson to learn how to enunciate, and how to communicate and how to speak and overcome. Here's a critical thing that I think is missing from Toastmasters over the years, is overcoming the fear of communication, overcoming the fear of speaking in public or speaking to a group of people. That was the fundamental foundation of what I always understood Toastmasters to be. And I think that in all of the competition, which you obviously have, I was actually blown away. I saw that slide and my chin dropped. It's like, crap, he's dealing with that much competition. Getting back to the fundamentals of what Toastmasters did, which was teaching salespeople how to speak in public, how to speak into a room full of people. And, you may have come back on that and say, well, a lot of them, the salespeople think they know what they're doing. Well, there's one area that maybe you need to focus on that would institute or start to build passion about it. And that is these young graduates, or even going after the local colleges and the local schools that are, training and doing business classes and stuff like that, and start recruiting people out of that who can sit there and for a reasonable fee sign up and get trained and coached and mentored on how to speak publicly and on how to communicate, not just publicly, but also over the phone, and now over Zoom and virtually, where they can sit there and have and build a presence when they're speaking in an environment like this, where it's a difficult thing because there is no tactile face-to-face. I think that's probably where maybe your niche is. And we go back last week to finding the niche. I think maybe identifying your niche is the people who need the training, as opposed to reaching out to the small business leaders who, for one reason or another, might be opposed to it. Yes, you can, rebranding yourself or remarketing yourself as the sales trainer. That would help a lot of small businesses with their sales teams, or even if they only have one salesperson they're using that they don't know is effective, or they're hiring on someone who's new out of college, introducing them and bringing them in and having them help build the organization from learning how to communicate and speak might be the path that would help out, especially with all the competition around the area.
I think that's a really good idea, to think about a niche as sales-oriented people who are selling, particularly those who sometime in the future, as the pandemonium recedes, will go back to in-person communications, but that we can help with their presence in these sorts of meetings or in what's come to be face-to-face over Zoom. I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good idea.
Because it's all about overcoming fear. A salesperson's fundamental issue is overcoming fear. And that's what Toastmasters always did, at least as I remember it. Because back in the day, I used to sit there and do that.
I thought there were drugs for that today.
Thank you, Tony. Let's move on to the next, Deb Cohen, and then we have Jen Dalton.
Good morning, everyone. A couple quick things before I get to my comment. First of all, Ken, you should know that my cousin about 25 years ago met his wife through Toastmasters, and they're still married today. So that was definitely a Toastmasters connection. Second, I wanted to say, Talmar, I agreed with Talmar's comments, and she's absolutely right. Most small organizations won't have an HR person. And I would add to what she said, I absolutely think the owners or the presidents of those small groups, but many of those organizations might have office managers, and an office manager might be somebody that you could connect. The real comment that I wanted to make is actually a little bit along the lines of what Tony was talking about. I think you should really capitalize on what's happening today. I would say go beyond the sales idea, which is that people are having to be effective in many different ways. Some of it is Zoom. Some of it is just even in interactions with coworkers, whether it's on Zoom or on the phone or even in emails. And given the fact that Toastmasters has really expanded what they do, which I think is terrific, and you might be able to sort of capitalize on that today, because it's a great way for an employee of a small organization, which is, it sounds like your sweet spot, to start to practice their skills without anybody else knowing. So chances are that there aren't going to be other people from their organization that join. And so that gives them an opportunity to really focus in. And the idea of, you guys know that I'm all about self-directed learning. And this is one aspect of how you can get self-directed learning. You decide, this is something that I need to do, communicate better, lead better, what have you. and you can work on it on your own. So it's certainly a great opportunity.
You mentioned about being able to practice in a place where nobody can see you. We've actually had several people from Capital One who've been involved in our club because they wanted to be away from the community where the stakes were so high,
Right.
and to be in a place where they could make a mistake. So closing off that large corporation community may not be, well, stick to your niche. I don't want to go there.
Mhm.
Thanks, Deb.
Sure.
Thank you, Deb. Jen, and then after Jen, we have Reggie Holmes.
Sure, great presentation, Ken. Just a few thoughts and questions. One, I think it's important to make sure that this is messaged as a complementary program. And so, if, for example, if you reached out to Sandler, which is a sales training company, and said, hey, we can help in parallel. So yes, they're practicing their company pitch, but people also just need to practice being comfortable with themselves and speaking. So it's a complementary thing. It's not like you're competing and you're teaching them sales. One question would be similar to James around education. I don't think business owners understand how the program would work. And so if you can communicate the self-learning piece, if you can communicate a vision for, hey, in 12 weeks, here's what they learn, or in the first 30 days, here's what they learn, that would be helpful, especially so that business owners understand the value. And I think between Sandler, between young professional groups, which are often at most chambers, maybe even looking at BNI, there are some pretty specific places that you could partner, even Community Foundation of Northern Virginia. But my question to you would be, is the program for businesses different, or do you envision offering something additional so that they're practicing specific skills, or is it bringing them in to Toastmasters just as you would anyone who signed up?
Toastmasters is a bit of a battleship. It's moving forward in the direction that it goes, and it's equipped with all of its armaments. And so there are clubs that have specialties. There are storytelling clubs. There are and so a sales-oriented specialty is a direction that might be worth considering. And then crafting the messaging for individuals and for business owners for that specialty. That's one possibility that I think is worth considering and pondering. I think that it's come up a couple of times that messaging is really, really important. And we're gonna have to go back and look at that, because obviously it's hard to rise above the clamor of all of those clubs. So I'm not sure how to get that messaging out there, to focus on a unique skill set that somebody can develop. But those are great ideas that are going to, I'm going to be sitting back with another cup of tea and thinking about all of these. I'm really looking forward to getting the recording so that I can spend time pondering these. Thanks.
Quick follow-up question.
Sure.
Because it's a franchisor license, what social media channels are you allowed to have on your own? I know you have your own website, but can you have your own Facebook page and things like that?
Yeah, there are no limits on our social media presence. So we can be anywhere and everywhere. You can see that I've got some years behind me, so I'm not fully immersed in the strength of social media for marketing, because it came up behind me. And so I've got a lot to learn about how to do that. And our resources are very, very thin in terms of both time and cost.
Thank you. Awesome, Jen. Next, we have Reggie, and after Reggie, we have Bill Husington. And after Bill, we have Donnell.
And
Hey,
John
Ken.
Rutherford.
Hey,
Reggie.
Ken. Great job. I was gonna say, so Fairfax County is doing this whole push to bring new employees here to work for, companies. There's like 90,000 jobs or something on the website that are open, and people are they're actively pushing to try to bring people here. So maybe you can connect with the EDA, because your program is unique and not attached to any specific employer, but can be leveraged as part of that effort to attract people here as a training and leadership development opportunity that is available to all. I really think that you can lean into the fact that anybody can take advantage of your particular offering. They don't have to be connected with a specific employer. Like, I really think you can lean into that because you're making something that should be available to everybody, actually accessible and available to everybody. So I think that in your messaging and marketing, you should lead with that and really position what you guys do as something that anybody that wants to can take advantage of, and speak to how it will help someone who is, head down at a cubicle, but has some of these innate strengths, and they just need an opportunity to find that, to discover it and display that. So I really think that you can do a lot with that in terms of, not necessarily the business owner, but the person that's in the company, but is kind of in the background. So you can appeal to that person with the leadership opportunity of it. So that's it.
That's great. Reggie, can you do you know the web address for that job board for EDA? Can you
It's just
drop that
called
in the chat?
workinnorthernvirginia.com. It's like a new website, a new initiative. They're putting a lot of money into that effort. So.
I need that for another reason outside of Toastmasters. I think right now there's two directions. One of them is retail, one of them is wholesale. What I mean by wholesale is working through the business owners, working through HR directors, working through some larger organization. And then you were talking about appealing at the retail level to the people directly who need need to identify that that's where they want to go in their work, and how we can help them get where they want to go in their work. And I think it's remarkable. Let me just mention this. When somebody comes to Toastmasters and they begin to develop more skills and more confidence, it begins to immediately show up in their workplace and get recognized in their workplace and increase their visibility and their recognized potential in the workplace. And boy, if I could get that message out to the retail level, that would be just awesome. They'd be beating down the doors. Thanks, Reggie.
Videos.
Video.
Thanks. Thank you, Reggie. That was really awesome. Bill, you're next.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for the presentation. I thought it was very cool that Toastmasters is here at 1 Million Cups. I just happened to join my local Toastmasters in July. One thing that stood out to me in the presentation was that Toastmasters is struggling with membership, the goal being 20, but the reality being about half that. And then you show us the map that would make Starbucks blush of the number of clubs in our area. And that's one challenge that you need to overcome for sure. My thoughts centered around, I agree with Tony that it's the fear of overcoming the fear of public speaking is kind of what I always associated with Toastmasters. And, but even though it sounds good to overcome that, people don't say, oh, well, all right, let me sign up. There's still that fear, and it's like a hot plate they don't want to touch. And I feel the strongest way to get over that is through like personal relationships, someone that I know coming to me and stating the value, and I just sort of, trust them more and will go along with that. That's kind of outside your question, but the intersection of my advice and your question, I think Melinda spoke to, having the folks that are already in your membership, the businesses that they can reach, and then maybe empowering them with the value. You want to get this message out to everyone that when you go to Toastmasters, it shows up in the productivity of your work. Have your membership reach out and be the ones, saying this to these businesses or their, relationships, these particular values, and maybe that will get you some good traction.
Thanks, Bill. Bill, where did you join up?
I'm in Chantilly. It's the Dulles South, I think is the name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, we have Donnell Johnson. Donnell.
Ken,
I'm going to put on my shoulder harness.
thank you so much for choosing our 1 Million Cups to ask for support. I'm going to echo a couple of things that people said and just add a little bit of my flavor to it. But partnerships are very important. Those individuals that are able to tell your story for you. If you say Ken is cool, people may not believe you, but if I say Ken is cool, people believe me. And so individuals that are outside of your organization speaking about you will definitely help. Also, I believe you need to collect success stories. Individuals in your organization that have achieved some sort of success, success is success no matter how big or how small. You need to collect those stories. Everybody has one of these devices. It takes seconds to collect those stories, and all you have to do is just put them out there. The time that you're doing your Toastmasters is during when people should be working. And so if you're looking for individuals to come to your Toastmasters during the day, you have to sell them or sell them and their organization on why that's important. And so they can, it's a leadership development, so they can learn leadership and public speaking in a safe environment, in a structured environment, and at no cost to the organization. And so it's a minimal investment. And then also when you're having your meetings, that's content that you can share with your audience. And so record those meetings and take pieces of that content and put it out there to show people that it's a safe and fun environment and you ought to be here. And so you don't have to make any special videos, just use the content and the stuff that you already have and record those times and just cut clips of it and share it out and ask them to share it at the same time. And so that's my feedback. Good stuff. Great presentation.
Thank you. You've triggered a couple of ideas that come together. Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could get a release from a new member to do a before and after video?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is just say their experience. What was your experience here, and how did you like it, and what would you share with people to come to this organization?
The idea that I was thinking of was to take the recordings and snip them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great idea. And I'm getting more into video. For those of you who can see my green screen background, I'm trying to master video and learn to be effective so that I can use video as a communications tool. And I really appreciate the opportunity to try all of this kind of stuff out with 1 Million Cups this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Donnell. John Rutenberg, did you have something to add?
Well,
Meant?
yes, I have something to say. Whether it's additive is up to everyone else in the room. So a couple things, Ken. First, I would suggest you define small business, and I wrote in the chat room, is that 1 to 25 employees or 25 to 250 employees? I would suggest that the latter group, the 25 to 200, is more fertile as an area to try to penetrate. Second, I would offer a scholarship to the owner or to the business development leader as long as she or he brought a second person. The third comment I would make, and this is echoing others, explaining the benefits is really important. And leadership development is too broad a benefit. Specific sales presentation training is a narrower benefit. That, to me, that's where Toastmasters always was, I thought, at least in my perception. But the last comment is, does it make sense to merge with one of your competing groups? And if you each have 10 people and now all of a sudden you're 20, I think it's more likely to get to 30 as a merged group. And it sounds like there are just too many of you guys out there. And maybe there's somebody you're very simpatico with. And I don't know the economics, but where you could both benefit and the pie would grow faster because you're now a larger, more dynamic group.
I don't mean to disparage your suggestion at all by mentioning, because it is such a great idea, that we have been discussing it among the executive committee as a possibility to find a merger that would be beneficial for both groups and to create a larger scale, which really enhances the delivery of the program.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. I subscribe to that wholly, and we are investigating that. You saw the map. There's got to be somebody out there that we can benefit from. And we'll be talking with the volunteers at the levels above mine in that pyramid for their input about the potential for mergers.
Thank you, John Rutenberg. That was great. Next, we have Melinda. I don't if you wanted to add something, and after Melinda, I'm going to go with Jen Dalton. Had a lot of comments, great ones. And then we will go with the final question with Mr. Donald Jones. Thank you.
Actually, I love the idea of mergers, John. That was brilliant. And I was thinking even mergers with mastermind groups or other groups that really could benefit from being part of, and maybe the whole group comes to your group on a regular basis so that they can improve their skills. I also put other comments in the chat, so I won't waste the time right now since I know time.
Thank
is of
you.
the essence. But look in the chat later.
Thank you, Melinda. Bill, did you have anything to add? I see your hand is still raised up. Bill Hosington? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Okay, Donnell, did you want to ask one final question?
I was on mute, sorry. No, Ken, great presentation. You represent the Toastmasters very well. My question to you is what can our 1 Million Cups community do for you?
I've been thinking about this because I could anticipate this question. And what I'd like each of you to do individually is to stop when you see a bad presentation. Everybody has been a participant as an audience member in a bad presentation. Now, I don't know what the language is. I haven't really figured that out. So I'm going to leave that in your hands. And it's touchy. But to tell somebody who's just given a horrible presentation that, you know, I have an idea for you. You could give better presentations and carry the message of Toastmasters just the way you described earlier in the meeting here. Carry the message of Toastmasters for me. And it doesn't have to be me in particular. If you find somebody who gives you a positive response, I will be happy to talk with them. And maybe they'll join up with Bill's club out in Chantilly or somewhere else. I can be that point of contact, but eventually that will get back to me and grow my individual club. So carry the message, take the opportunity to help somebody who you know could be better at whatever they do if they could improve that presentation that you just snoozed through or cried through.
So how do they get in touch with you?
My phone number is in the chat. It's my voice and text. That is the best way to reach me. I hope all of you carry my phone number with you wherever you go.
Thank you so much. And again, great presentation.
Thank you, Danelle. It has been a real honor and a privilege.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Oh, this is the way that they do it in Toastmasters today. Because everybody's on mute.
Jen?
Yes, jazz hands works well. So thank you, Ken. That was great. For folks who are attending, please make sure to go ahead and save the chat. If you need us to send it to you, just let us know. Fantastic ideas. Makes me want to join Toastmasters right now. We do have a lot of, we have a couple of presenters coming up, Take Flight and Drake Wise in early September. We have Honeydew, who's also applied. So thanks to John Partridge. Now is a really good time to invite business owners you know and spread the word to build up our presenter pipeline. This is a fantastic time for people who maybe have holiday marketing they need to do, but they're not sure how to do it. They want to try virtual events, but they don't know how to do it. So again, if there's a business owner who is either in startup phase or they've been around and maybe they're struggling a little bit right now, or maybe they have a great idea, they're doing well and they want to continue to grow, please refer them. They can apply at 1millioncups.com/Fairfax. We would love to have them join. As far as any upcoming events, if folks have events they want to share, please let us know. If you're interested in being an organizer, please let us know. We would love to have you join. I know Melinda, we're excited to have you join as an organizer. It's a great group, very targeted asks, so it hopefully is not overwhelming at all. I know for me, this has been a fantastic network and an inspiring creative time every Wednesday. So again, as far as upcoming events, if anybody wants to share some of these events and speak to them, that would be great. Or again, drop events in chat as well.
Where is Russ?
He's on, he's just on mute. So if anyone has not been to the Entrepreneurship 101, or if again, you know someone interested in doing a startup, I highly recommend them. That is through the